This is the Zodiac speaking. I get awfully lonely when I'm ignored. So lonely, I could do my thing.
Tonight, a California killing spree that's captivated the world for decades. Now, a group of sleuths claims to have solved the case of the infamous Zodiac killer.
The case looks like a veritable cultural snowball, with multiple books, documentaries, and feature films already made, in the making, or to be released soon. The public interest refuses to fade, which just might result in the killer's capture. Before we get to the new discoveries, let's dial back and have a look at what this highly publicized case is about. Zodiac targeted mostly young couples. On December 20, 1968, Betty Lou Jensen and David Arthur Faraday were shot to death on a lover's lane within the city limits of Benicia. The killer went on to attack two more couples, but in both cases, the male victims miraculously survived. The last confirmed Zodiac murder happened on October 11, 1969. Paul Stein, a taxi driver, was shot and killed. But it wasn't the death count that caught the public's eye. In two instances, the killer reported his murders himself, calling the police and giving them directions to the crime scenes. On top of that, he used to taunt the police with cryptic letters, mocking the law enforcers. He escalated to terrorist threats, like shooting up a school bus full of children. Hey pig, doesn't it rile you up to have your nose rubbed in your boo-boos? The letters often came with coded messages. Zodiac claimed the solved ciphers would give the police his name. A total of 4 ciphers were sent to newspapers in 1969 and 1970. While the first one was cracked in a week, the following 3 left the experts scratching their heads. It's especially confusing that sometimes Zodiac would hint at having committed other murders, like the murder of Sherry Jo Bates in 1966, boasting the death toll of as many as 37 victims. It is speculated that the claims were nothing but red herrings. The letters themselves were becoming repetitive and ridiculous. The killer claimed he was collecting slaves for his afterlife. He also demanded that people start wearing some nice Zodiac buttons. When it didn't happen, Zodiac got upset. I shall no longer announce to anyone. When I commit murders, they shall look like routine robberies, killings of anger, and a few fake accidents, etc. The police shall never catch me because I have been too clever for them. In 1974, the communication stopped. The evidence was scarce, and the most viable clues were Zodiac's letter and composite sketches based on witness descriptions. Brian Hartnell, a surviving victim, described the attacker as an overweight white male wearing a medieval-style executioner hood with a flap going down the chest, bearing the Zodiac symbol. A suspicious man was glimpsed by 3 co-eds sunbathing close to the scene. It didn't help that another composite sketch looked drastically different. The police had precious little to work with. In those simpler times, when the term serial killer hadn't even been coined, many police procedures were conducted incorrectly. Some clues that would have been considered vital today were simply ignored as the technique to collect them was not in practice. For example, instead of having the killer's voice on record, we have an oral description from the dispatcher, Nancy Slover.
If you read my report, it means nothing. But if you hear, if you could have heard, I can't explain it as well as I still hear it.
Vallejo Police Department.
I want to report a double murder.
May I have your
If you
name
go 1
and where
mile
you're calling?
east on Columbus Parkway, the public park, you'll find kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye.
Still, the investigators were keeping themselves busy. One suspect popped up on the police radar as early as October 1969. His name was Arthur Lee Allen. He looked a bit like the co-ed's composite sketch and was spotted close to the murder scene that day. In 1971, Allen's close friend, Donald Cheney, came forward and told the police that Allen was their man. He claimed Allen had spoken to him about killing people, how he'd target couples, and call himself Zodiac. Many believed Allen was the man, including legendary Dave Toschi, the detective who worked on the Zodiac case since 1969. As soon as that guy walked in the door, I knew it was him, said Toschi. Robert Graysmith, the author of the famous true crime book, Zodiac, was of the same opinion. His book sold over 4 million copies worldwide. In the public eye, it solidified Allen as the best possible suspect. In the following 20 years, the police searched Allen's house numerous times. At first, Allen seemed to enjoy the attention, just like Zodiac would, but ultimately it started getting on his nerves. The best evidence the police presented was circumstantial, like the Zodiac watch Allen wore. His handwriting didn't match, he didn't have the military boots worn by the killer. It didn't help that Don Chaney proved himself an untrustworthy witness at best. Reportedly furious at Allen for trying to molest his child, Chaney's stories were many, but often contradictory. In 1992, Allen died, and the final search didn't reveal any solid evidence. The same year, one of the two Zodiac survivors, Mike Maggio, identified Allen from a photo lineup. That's him. That's the man who shot me. 10 years after his death, the police took one final shot at Allen. The SFPD composed a partial DNA profile from the saliva on stamps and envelopes of Zodiac's letters and compared it to Allen's. It wasn't a match. In 2007, David Fincher's Zodiac hit the big screen. Adapting Graysmith's book, it also rekindled interest in the case, but it took another decade for the investigators to make any substantial progress. Apart from looking into suspects, there was another approach to this case. Zodiac himself claimed that the solution to his codes would give the investigators his real name. Of the 4 ciphers he mailed to the press, only one was cracked, until 2020. A group of enthusiasts led by Dave Oranchak cracked the second Zodiac cipher, mailed a full 51 years prior. It took the team 14 years to find the solution, and Oranchak is positive it would not have been possible in the 70s. However, what looked like a major breakthrough happened to be another rambling message on how Zodiac was collecting slaves to serve him in the afterlife, something he'd also boasted in the first cracked cipher. The only real clue it contained was Zodiac denying he was the man who called the TV show in October 1969.
How long have you had those headaches, Sam? Been a long time? Since I killed a kid. What?
The fact didn't require his confirmation. The caller had been traced to a mental institution almost immediately. Almost like a time capsule, all the message released was the stale air of the same old Zodiac taunting. I hope you're having lots of fun in trying to catch me. It looked like the case might be dead, just like most suspects in the case. In October 2021, the Casebreakers, a team of independent investigators, came forward, claiming to have identified the Zodiac killer. The non-profit group comprises retired police officers, ex-FBI agents, and ex-military. They focus on solving cold cases, for, as it says on their website, only 5% of police departments can afford to staff cold case teams to solve them. Despite it being the Casebreakers who, broke the news, the discovery was made by an outsider. TV journalist Dale Julin knew the answer a full 7 years before the information was released to the public. A homeless man referred to as Will approached him, claiming to know Zodiac's true identity, and proceeded to tell him a chilling story about his life with one Gary Francis Poste of Groveland, California. According to Will, Poste, fronting as a mild-mannered house painter, was the ringleader of a group of men he trained as killing machines. The locals were well aware of their activities and called the group the Posse, but knew better than to try and mess with Gary. He taught them how to turn a pipe bomb into a bomb that would blow up houses. If new cops moved into town, he would have the Posse throw rocks into their windows to get them to move out. He was involved in loading guns out to suicidal people in town. One night, Will was watching TV when a documentary on Zodiac came up. When the credits rolled, Will was sure Gary was the elusive killer. He came to Poste and asked him straight in the face if he was Zodiac. Poste flew into a rage, grabbed a hammer, and struck Will in the chest. Fearing for his life, Will escaped. He tried alerting the authorities, but nobody would listen to Will until he came upon Dale Julian. The FBI heard Will out but decided not to pursue his claims. On the other hand, Julian smelled a true sensation and spent years looking into Will's story. Finally, he had so much material on his hands that he started writing a book. Also, Julian solved 3 more Zodiac puzzles. Treating the Zodiac postcards as if the texts were anagrams, Julian had to remove Poste's full name and rearrange the letters to find hidden disturbing messages. The messages hinted at a potential Zodiac victim, Donna Lass, and the location of her body in Zephyr Cove, Nevada. When Julian visited the location, he saw a weird pine tree, its trunk split and grown back together. The tree was gouged at the base, and up high, somebody had phone equipment driven into it. Julian felt his findings were too solid to use as simple book material. The law enforcement agencies ignored him, so Julian went to the casebreakers, and the group members were thoroughly impressed. I was amazed by Dale's tenacity and perseverance, and never thought the letters could be anagrams. Kudos to him. I think he solved the case. I've read some other accounts and they don't nearly make as much sense. Him solving the anagrams is what solidified it in my mind. It led him to what I consider an evidence site. When the case breakers looked into Poste, they discovered that the man worked at an Air Force radar station and was trained in ciphers. For many hours he had to stare into the radar screen, wore the same army boots as the Zodiac killer, and used Zodiac boats in the army. On top of it all, Poste did look like a Zodiac composite sketch. Was he the man? There was one serious complication though. Poste was dead. In 2016, he shoved his wife down the stairs in their home and was put into a mental institution. When a family member visited him and asked, "Old man, are you really the Zodiac killer?" Poste replied, "If I told you I was, would I be in this nice place?" He died in 2018 from sepsis, dysphagia, and vascular dementia. Tom Colbert and the casebreakers refused to back down. Having searched Poste's house, they came upon what they call an evidential goldmine and a historic haul. There's still a lot of work ahead of the team, like a trip to the site where Poste had buried the guns that could provide further links to the Zodiac case. So, is the Zodiac chase truly at its end? Alas, no. The police refused the casebreakers access to the killer's DNA samples. It seems strange on the surface, but not as much if you consider how many people come forward yearly, claiming to have vital clues to the mystery or even claiming to be Zodiac himself. The casebreakers members might possess impressive credentials, but a look into their activities reveals no case is broken, and the evidence they have on Poste is merely circumstantial. In the end, they are just like thousands of other civilians trying to solve a tantalizing puzzle. But the casebreakers are not to be dismissed yet. Julian's releasing his book soon, and the casebreakers themselves are teasing a new Zodiac documentary in development, promising to reveal further evidence tying Poste to Zodiac. The police and the FBI don't listen to them. Maybe some public pressure will work its magic if the casebreakers' evidence is as irrefutable as they claim. Meanwhile, the police aren't losing all hope either. Just recently, they've uploaded the DNA profiles they have on their hands to GADmatch.com. After all, Detective Paul Holes used the very method to catch the Golden State Killer, Joseph D'Angelo, and that case was 30 years old. Just as with Jack the Ripper, the mystery of the Zodiac remains unsolved. Will modern technologies help the investigators finally corner their prey? And even if Zodiac himself is long dead, his specter still haunts both the Bay Area and the minds of the internet sleuths. The reason I'm writing to the Times is this: they don't bury me on the back pages like some of the others. Thank you for watching this video. Do let us know what you think about Zodiac's story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and above all, stay safe.